Indianapolis Center, do you have any test operations restricted area 2508?
Aries 31, roger. Traffic is quite luminous and is exhibiting some non-ballistic motion, over.
Roger, Aries 31. Continue to send at your discretion, over.
Okay, Center. The traffic is approaching head-on, ultra bright, and really moving. They're right by us right now.
There are 1,000 UFO sightings reported around the world every month. 90% of these sightings can be explained, but 10% cannot. Officially and unofficially, the U.S. military has been investigating UFOs since 1947. Their top secret goal is to find out what's behind these unexplained sightings. The Pentagon classifies them as unusual airborne anomalies, but a better term is X-Files. Join us now as Mack, Wanwan, and Commander Cobra explore these unsolved cases, UFO incidents that baffle even the U.S. military. This is Mack Maloney's Military X-Files. And now, here's Mack Maloney.
Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Mack Maloney's Military X-Files show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network. This is Mack Maloney. Wow, what a show we have for you tonight. Edition 2 of our World War II Trivia Contest. Coming up later, but let me introduce the members of the posse. Girls, get ready. Get that big box of Kleenex. Get that big box of wipes. Get your fan. Get your mister, because the very famous Juan is here.
Hello, Mac. Good to be on the show with you tonight. And, you know, even though you're a little bit under the weather, I know you'll play through it.
Thank you.
You'll be like Brad Marchand. You know, he'll score big and life will be good.
Hockey reference, okay. Sorry, middle-aged ladies, no Coco tonight, no Coco. He's on a secret mission. However, middle-aged ladies might be thrilled to hear that Switchblade Steve Ward is here. Switchy, how you doing up there in Battle Creek, Michigan?
It's great to be here.
Okay, we both have the same cold. Is that the angle?
I think so. Okay. Some kind of computer virus.
Right, because we haven't seen each other.
Across the internet.
Okay. Also joining us is Raven, our favorite good witch up there in New York. Raven, how you doing tonight?
Hello, my friends. I'm doing wonderful. Thank you for having me.
Hello, Raven.
Hello.
Do you, is this a bun night or what? Can you just tell us right off the bat?
Mm-hmm. It's a bun night.
Bun night.
It's really humid here again, so I got to do something.
Okay. It's official.
Ever put any decorations in there, like a knitting needle or something like
Bun
that,
night.
Raven?
I got some quarters up there, just in case I need one.
Quarters?
I know I can chuck them at people if I need to.
Interesting. Okay. All right. Inflation. I used to do it with pennies, but also joining us, let's just go around the table here. Our good friend Jim Frenkel down in Nashville, Tennessee. Jim Frenkel, my agent and friend. How you doing there, Jim?
I'm just fine, y'all. Nice to see you.
You're the last person in the world to be saying y'all there, my friend. All right.
Well, you know, in Nashville, if you don't say y'all,
they beat you up.
You don't stay in Nashville.
Oh,
y'all.
Okay. That I understand. Okay. Also joining us, Tony Cisneros up there in Washington State. Tony, how you doing tonight?
Hey, Mac, I'm doing pretty good. How are you? It's great to be here.
Tony runs Alp Ventures. It's a World War II touring company where they bring you on tours of World War II battle sites in Europe. Also does some UFO tours we'll be talking about later on. And also with us, I'm saving the second best for last, Gary Olsen, very famous author. Gary, are you there?
Yes, I am. Thank you very much for allowing me to plug my world-famous book, The 15 Geniuses Behind the Lens, how the top directors shaped the movies that we've seen today.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent.
And that is without Quentin Tarantino, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yes, yeah, he didn't make the list.
Okay. A stunning omission.
Yeah, not that stunning. Okay, and
Unchained.
As tonight we are doing the World War II Trivia Contest, joining us again is our good friend Phil Orbanes from Winning Moves Company. Phil, how you doing?
Doing fine, thank you.
You look good. You look good. Of course, we're on the radio,
Well,
but you look good.
It's my birthday. I better look good.
Your birthday.
Hey,
Congratulations.
Wow.
Finally old enough to
Happy
drink, huh?
birthday.
Thank you.
What's the over?
74 times around the sun.
74.
There you
Holy
go.
No, you're not.
Wow.
Yeah.
You look good for
You and
74.
Ronnie Wood.
Is Ronnie Wood the same age? How about
Yeah.
that?
Wow.
Exactly. And yep, same age,
Well,
same birthday.
Born on the same day.
Well, I've seen him in
I love
concert.
Geminis.
Me
He's
too.
awesome.
Yeah,
They're great.
Gemini's go in a lot of different directions
Wow.
at once.
So, so tonight what we're going to
How did they
do,
do it?
we're going to do World War II trivia contest. We did this a couple months ago. Had a lot of fun. We're going to announce the winner of the last contest, and what we'll do is when we come back from break, we the four of us, Jim and Tony and Gary and I, are going to be playing. Phil is the master of ceremonies. Switch is the cheerleader. Raven's going to keep score, unless you guys want to switch that up.
Go team.
10, thank you, Switchy. No pom-poms, though? No? So 10 questions to all of us, and then the two survivors go on to play the second round.
Right.
And the prize tonight is, Phil, why don't you tell us what the prize is?
Okay. Well, the prize for the first World War II quiz was a copy of the new variant of Risk called Risk Europe. But tonight, the prize for that Mac will be drawing at random from listeners is an authentic reproduction of the original 1959 Risk game with the beautiful polished wooden armies.
Nice. Oh, man, that's cool.
Wow.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So that's what we're playing for tonight. So the way to do it, folks, is to go to mackmaloney.com, hit the contact button, just send us your email. We're going to put your name in the magic fishbowl. Whoever wins will pick a name out of the magic fishbowl, and if it's yours, you'll win that cool prize. So now that we're doing, why don't we announce the winner from the last game, Raven? Okay.
All right. Yeah.
So we played.
So
Go
the
ahead, please. Go ahead. We should have a drum roll
the
here.
winner.
Drum roll.
Drum roll. Kevin Kimball of Sammamish, Washington.
Well, let's give him a hand. Let's please give him a hand.
Hey,
We'll sweeten it up. But Kevin Kimball, okay, up in Washington State.
And Mac,
Sounds like a pseudonym.
you'll send me his address by email so I can get the game out for him, and I'll do that on Thursday.
Yeah, that's cool. Thank you. So,
You're welcome.
because it wouldn't be a show without a bit, we have a little bit of a bit here, okay? And the bit is, boy, I did this in a stupor. Okay. How Wan would have contributed to the World War II effort if he was alive back then? All right? How Wan would have contributed to the World War II effort had he been alive back then. Well, I think he was alive back then, but he was too old
Almost
to do.
alive back
There you
then.
go. Okay, you ready? If everyone get the bit, then let's go. Raven, number 10. Oh, first of all, start the music.
All right. Start the music, Mac.
Number 10.
By starting Wan's Boot Camp Playhouse Theater and doing scenes from Downtown Abbey for the troops.
Right? Can't you see them doing that? Okay, let's go, folks. We got 9 more of them. Okay, number 9, please.
I'd be playing Matthew.
Yeah, you'd be playing all the parts. Go ahead, please. Number 9.
I would be.
Number 9, by telling everyone he meets, I am the Boogie Woogie Bugle Boy of Company B.
Right? Just do.
Such a good song.
Wow, is this on?
I always appreciated buglers in that era.
All right. Let's see. Number 8. How Wan would contribute to the World War II war.
By splicing together Randolph Scott and Tyrone Power movies for the Admirals in Newport.
Wow, okay.
And that's my specialty.
Yikes.
With a helmet on, I'd be doing that.
Okay, please. Next one, please, Raven.
By greeting the troop ships dressed up as the incredible human donut and holding a sign that says, "Hey, sailor, dunk me."
Yeah, dunk me.
That's excellent.
All right.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
I'd do that.
Next one, please, Raven.
Number 6, by offering to motorize FDR's wheelchair with 6 speeds, moon hubcaps, and maybe a Hemi.
Might be a little indelicate.
Yes.
I don't know. I was desperate. Okay. Number 5, how Wanwan would help BF in World War II had he been around.
By volunteering to parachute into Germany and woo Ava Braun away from Dolphy Hitler.
Yeah,
I could do that.
Could you do that?
I could really nip the war in the bud right there.
Right, you could have ended it if you were around.
Yes.
Okay. Next one, please, Raven.
By offering to do Tojo's laundry for a year.
Wow, that's a long time.
Yeah, okay, well.
I'd have to think about that one.
It's actually
A lot
pretty,
of whites.
actually pretty racist. Pretty racist when you think of it, but that's okay. All right, so next one, please. Raven.
Number 3, by starting an anti-Nazi dating channel called We'll Always Have Stalingrad.
Right. Yeah, bring some lonely hearts together.
I don't know if I'd go that far.
Okay. Number 2, please, Raven.
By requesting only half the normal amount of chocolate be put in his chocolate martinis.
See, you're giving up something, you know? That's real home front stuff.
It's a sacrifice.
My own personal rationing, is that what's going on?
Yes, send the rest to the kids.
Wow.
Okay, here we are at the end of this road. Okay, number 1 reason, please, Raven.
Okay, by offering to keep the Queen Mom quote-unquote company while the king was at the front.
Would you do that?
Definitely.
Would you? Yeah.
King is dallying around and I'm with the queen.
Right. Queen Mom, his wife.
Queen Mom.
Queen Mom.
Never met a gin. Never met a gin and
I
tonic
always
she
liked
didn't
the
like.
Queen Mom.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, here we go. We'll sweeten that baby up. So here we are. World War II Trivia Contest, Part 2. Why don't we take a commercial break now, and we'll be back with the game. You're listening to Mack Maloney's Military X-Files show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network. We'll be right back after this.
Do you know where the world's most secret bases are located? Do you know what spooky action at a distance means? Is there a conspiracy by aliens to prevent us from conquering space? And where is the best place in the United States to see a real UFO? Find the answers to all these questions and more in Mack Maloney's new book, Mack Maloney's Haunted Universe. Visit places you never knew existed: the Phantom Tunnels of Tokyo, the UFO Trail in South America, Hong's Hat, and the very mysterious M Triangle. Mack Maloney's Haunted Universe contains hundreds of reports on ghosts, haunted planes and ships, weird celebrity deaths, mysterious sounds, and a breakdown of every monster in America, state by state. You've heard him talk about it on the radio. Now, get all of Mack's paranormal research in one large volume. Mack Maloney's Haunted Universe, with a foreword by the very famous Wanwan. On sale now in your local bookstore or on Amazon.com.
Who will be picked by the winner of the game out of the Magic Fish Bowl. To enter the contest, just go to MackMaloney.com. Hit contact, send us an email, and your name will go into the Magic Fish Bowl. Now, I'm going to turn this over to our good friend Phil Orbanes, who is the past president of Winning Moves, which is the company that makes a lot of different versions of Risk, Monopoly, Sorry, Chutes and Ladders, Rubik's Cube, the works. Phil, thank you for donating the prize tonight and also being on Master of Ceremonies. Do you want to just tell everyone the rules, please?
Certainly. This quiz that the 4 players will compete in has 10 questions. If need be, we will also have a tiebreaker. Many of the questions are numerical answers. The player whose numerical answer is closest to the actual is going to score. So if I ask a question and a number is requested for an answer, the players do not have to hit it exactly. They simply need to try to be the closest player to the actual on either end, either above or below. In the remote event that the actual answer is guessed, that player will score a bonus point. Each correct answer is worth 1 point. The answers that are verbal are brief. So there is not a lot of writing that need to be done. After I ask each question, I'll allow a reasonable amount of time for the 4 players to contemplate and write down their answer. And while this is happening, we just ask that no discussion take place that would influence the players and their answers. Then, in no particular order, I will ask the 4 players one by one to reveal their answers, and then we'll determine who scored, if anyone scored, for that particular question.
Let me introduce the players. Tony Cisneros, a good friend from Alp Ventures Tours. Tony, you ready tonight?
I'm ready. I'm fired up.
Okay.
Let's do this.
Tony runs a company that brings people over to European battle sites, tours. Sounds very cool. I'd love to do it sometime, Tony. Thanks for joining us. Also, another player, Gary Olsen, very famous Hollywood author. Gary, you ready?
Yeah, now these questions are all about World War II movies, correct?
World War II, my friend. You missed the memo. Same thing. Same thing.
Oh,
okay.
Well, many of them have been portrayed in movies, so you might have a head start.
You'll be okay. Also playing is our good friend Jim Frenkel down there in Nashville. Jim, you ready?
As ready as I'm going to be. You know, what I want to know is, Tony, you know, when you take people on tours of World War II sites, are you taking them to the time that they happened?
That's even better.
Yeah, he doesn't have a time machine, but
certainly try to do that. You know, take them back to you know, try to paint the picture and give them as much information to bring them to that place. Yeah, try to do that.
No, I meant time travel. Really?
Oh, time travel.
That's next year.
Haven't figured that one out yet. Haven't figured that one out yet.
Wow.
But just going there is time travel enough.
Yeah,
that's true.
Oh,
I
think so.
Having done a few of these, yeah.
And then the 4th player is myself, Mack Maloney. So, okay, I guess we're all ready, Phil. So let's go. Question number 1.
All right. The first question has a numerical answer. To the nearest 100, how many Allied merchant vessels did the Germans sink during World War II? And of course, the Germans sank them mainly with U-boats, but also with surface raiders. Mm-hmm. So again, I'll repeat the question. How many Allied merchant vessels were sunk by the German Navy during World War II? To the nearest 100. And remember, the Battle of the Atlantic was the longest battle of the war. It ran from the fall of 1939 literally through the end of April 1945.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, does everybody have an answer?
Yeah.
Okay, let's start with Tony. What did you say, Tony?
I said 6,800.
6,800. Okay. Mac, how about you?
I said 4,200.
4,200. Jim?
I said 1,300.
Okay, and finally, we have
Gary.
I'm going to go low. I'm going to go 500.
Okay. The actual answer is 3,500. Mac scores the point.
Whoa, Mackie.
Good job, Mac.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Wow, that was a...
Okay. 3,500 ships. And, you know, the average tonnage of the ships back then, I think, was around 5,000 tons. Mm-hmm. So you can see that they sank over 17 million tons of shipping.
Wow. And we still won.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, the next question by design is related. And that is, how many warships did the German Navy sink? Wow. And before you answer this, I'll say that, you know, the German Navy primarily relied on U-boats, and it had 4 battleships and 3 pocket battleships, which was basically the entirety of their surface fleet. Most of the time they were bottled up in Norwegian waters and couldn't go out and raid. The surface raiders, the smaller ones, were actually at sea when the war began, and they were somewhat effective. So remember, the German Navy only had 7 surface ships, and they had a whole lot of U-boats during the war.
Right.
So in addition to all those merchant vessels, how many British and American warships did they sink? This would be a naval vessel, not a cargo vessel.
I changed my answer at the last moment. Okay.
Okay. Does everyone have an answer?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, Jim, we'll start with you.
72.
72 says Jim. Gary?
Boy, I wrote 75.
Ooh, close. Okay, Tony?
4,500.
How many?
Oh,
4,500.
That's a pretty huge Navy.
That is.
Yeah. And finally, Mac?
I'm going to say 200.
You said 200?
200, yep.
Yeah, well, Mac, you're on a roll because the actual number was 175.
Wow.
Which, by the way, when I looked that up, I was astounded by that because, between destroyers, cruisers, battleships, and aircraft carriers, a Navy that has a couple of hundred of those is a pretty big sized Navy.
Yeah, right. Yep.
The Germans had good luck sinking warships that primarily were escorting the convoys of merchant ships.
Sure, yeah.
Okay, question number 3 is a name. What was the name of the bridge spanning the Rhine at Remagen that was captured by the Allies on March the 7th, 1945?
The name of the bridge.
Actually, yeah, in German, this would have been a very famous name. It wasn't the Hitler Bridge.
Wow.
We all know that one bridge was left intact and it was captured by the Allies on March the 7th, 1945. I'll give you one hint. He was a famous German general, not from World War II.
Okay.
Okay, well, this may stump you, but are we all set with some
Yes.
guess?
Yes.
Sure.
Okay. All right. Gary, what do you think?
Yeah, my first answer was a bridge too far because it was too far to blow up.
That's coming in another question.
Okay.
And then you said the general. I'm going to go with Hindenburg.
Okay, that's close. That might be worth a half a point. We'll see.
Ooh. Wow.
Mac?
I got no idea. I just wrote down Heinz something.
Okay. Tony?
It's the Ludendorff Brücke, the Ludendorff Bridge.
All right. That is absolutely correct. And is it Jim who's left?
Yep.
yeah, I had no clue. I said the Kaiser Bridge, which is obviously wrong.
It's okay.
Well,
I'm on a roll with the Kaiser Bridge.
it is the Ludendorff Bridge, and Ludendorff and Hindenburg, of course, were the two big military leaders in World War I. The next question is also related.
Tony
now,
gets that.
This particular bridge, the Ludendorff Bridge, the Germans attempted to blow it before the Americans could cross. But interestingly, they didn't have military-grade black powder in that area. They literally raided hardware stores for commercial-grade black powder to try to blow it, and it wasn't powerful enough. So the bridge suffered some damage. The Allies, between March 8th and beginning on March 8th, a number of Allied troops, mainly Americans, began to cross that bridge, and the Germans did everything they could to bomb it and try to collapse it. Now, here's the question. It's a numerical question. How many days did the bridge survive before it collapsed? Wow. Remember, this is the first intact bridge over the Rhine. It was super critical to be able to pour into Germany and establish a bridgehead. The Germans really wanted to knock it down, but how many days did it survive before it eventually collapsed?
Okay, put a little music in there.
All right. Okay. So let's start with Tony. What do you think, Tony?
It's close to 11, I think.
Okay, Tony says 11. Mac, what do you say?
17.
17. Gary, what would you guess?
I think I read this. I think it's 15 days.
15. And finally, Jim.
I had 11.
Well, that means we have a tie because the actual number of days was 10.
Oh.
So Jim and Tony, this is question number 4. Jim and Tony both score. Now, the tragedy was that when the bridge collapsed, there were over 100 American soldiers on the bridge. 33 of them died in the collapse, and I think 68 were wounded, to some degree or another.
I should just, let me just put in that there is a movie called, and Gary knows this, it's called The Battle of Remagen, I think. And
that's right.
If you see it, I know Robert Vaughn is in it. There's a number of, kind of Hollywood stars in it. But what they did, if you watch this movie, is the most realistic war scenes of things blowing up. And what it was actually filmed, I believe, in Czechoslovakia during the Soviet era. They were going to destroy this town anyway, so they allowed this Hollywood movie unit to come in and film these buildings actually being destroyed. So when you see it, it's not special effects. They're actually being destroyed. The Bridge of Remagen.
Wow, that's cool. Yeah.
The Bridge of Remagen is the name of that. Okay. So do you want to just do the scores now,
Okay.
Raven? Raven, you want to do the scores, Raven? Her microphone is on.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So, okay, I have Mac and Tony tied with 2. I have Jim with 1, and I have Gary at 0.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
I thought I got a half point on that.
Yeah, half point.
Oh, was that a half a point?
Jim
Well,
and-
no, it would have been a half a point if no one guessed Ludendorff.
There you go. Okay.
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 We match, Phil?
But now we get to, yes, we do. Thanks very much,
There we
Raven.
go.
Now we get to a question that certainly was portrayed in the movie. And it's the last of the bridge questions, I can assure you, for the night. Question 5. Where was a bridge too far located during Operation Market Garden? So what was the name of the town? You don't need to get the country. I'll certainly give it the country if you may know it. But where was the location of a bridge too far during Operation Market Garden?
I'm good.
Good.
Okay. Okay, Tony, let's start with you.
Arnhem, Holland. Arnhem, Netherlands.
Arnhem is absolutely correct. Arnhem, Netherlands. Gary?
I was going to say Bastogne because I've been there and it's a great town.
Yeah, I would have been there too. But no bridge there of
No
consequence. Jim, what did you say?
Tappan Zee.
Tappan Zee is a
Zee.
good one. It's a stretch at least.
They took that
The
over.
long bridge,
Yeah. And finally, Mac.
Yeah, Arnhem in Holland.
Okay. So for question 5, Tony and Mac each get a point. Question number 6. Now we shift gears, and this is a Air Force question. What city was the target of the deadliest air attack in history?
Is deadliest as in like the amount of people killed?
The most, yes. In fact, it's a good
Okay.
clarification.
Okay.
Deadliest means that the attack that killed at the time the most people.
Okay.
Okay. Let's start with Jim this time.
Hiroshima.
Okay, Tony.
That's a tough one. I'm thinking it was a between Stalingrad and Hamburg. I'm going to go for Hamburg, July of 43.
That was pretty nasty. Mac?
Dresden.
Dresden, that's awfully nasty too. And finally, Gary.
I'm going to go to the Pacific and say Tokyo.
All right, Gary, you are absolutely correct, and you're on the board.
Damn.
On March the 9th, 1945, Curtis LeMay sent over 300 B-29s filled with incendiaries to firebomb Tokyo. 100,000 or more people died in that one night. I think the Hiroshima attack was 70 or 80,000.
Yeah, right, 80.
Yeah, and many times that amount were injured. The intensity of the fire was so great that the rivers in Tokyo boiled. And telephone poles lit up like candles.
Wow.
It was, yeah.
Wow.
It was horrendous.
Yeah, firebombing was, it sounds weird, but it killed more people than an atomic bomb.
Yeah.
Very odd.
Question 7. Where was the largest tank battle in history? And of course, by history, that means World War II. But it still is in history.
Music.
Everybody have an answer?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Mac, we start with you.
Kursk. The Battle of Kursk.
The Battle of Kursk, Russia. Okay, Gary?
I was going to say the African city that Patton was brought in, Kizling, something like that. Excuse my French.
Kesselring.
Okay. Jim?
Argonne.
Argonne. And finally, Tony.
I had Kursk, Prokhorovka, Russia.
Well, first, Kursk is correct. It was the 1943 long-anticipated spring battle that finally got off in July to August. It involved 6,000 tanks on both the Russian and the German side. And just to back up a little bit, the horrendous defeat at Stalingrad, which was echoed earlier by Raven, had basically been concluded early in 1943. And when the spring thaw occurred, the Germans, having retreated from Stalingrad, realized that the Russians had exposed themselves in a big salient around this town called Kursk, and they decided that they would pinch it off, surround the Russians, and resume their offensive, basically making up for Stalingrad. However, Russian intelligence was very good. They knew the Germans were coming. They were prepared in depth, and the Germans lost that battle, and they had never had another offensive to speak of again in the Soviet Union.
Wow. Incredible. We should just remind everyone you're listening to Mack Maloney's Military X-Files show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network. We're in the middle of the second edition of World War II Trivia Contest. Okay, let's go.
All right, question number 8. What was Operation Dragoon? I'll give you one hint. My father was part of it. I'm sure that gave it away.
Operation Dragoon.
Oh, that last one was Tony. Was there another person that got a point? On
and Mac.
And Mac.
Tony and Mac.
Okay. I knew I missed someone. Sorry, Mac.
And I'll give you one more hint. It occurred after D-Day.
Okay.
Okay, so let's start with Tony on this one.
Operation Dragoon was the Allied landings on the south coast of France.
Okay, Mac, what do you say?
Yep, the invasion of southern France.
Okay, Jim?
I was wrong. I said Italy.
Close. Gary?
No, that's what I had too, was southern France landing soon after D-Day.
Okay, well, 3 of our players each scored on that one. And the answer was, or the date was the 15th of August, 1944. What many people don't know is that several operatives of the Special Operations Executive and the OSS, primarily women, did a significant amount of damage to the German rear. So that by the time this invasion took place, the German supply lines were cut, a lot of their bridges were out, a lot of their rear units were trapped or captured, so they couldn't get to southern France to reinforce the raid, and as a result, the race up the Rhone River was almost unimpaired.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now we get to a question that I found personally to be the answer really interesting. Prior to D-Day, including the ill-fated Dieppe attack on 19th August of 42, how many landings and commando raids had been launched and aborted? In other words, not all of them happened against the Germans' Atlantic Wall. Now, the Atlantic Wall was the name given, I think mainly by the press, for all the German defenses starting in northern Norway, going down into, Belgium and the Netherlands, and along the French coast to the Spanish border. That was the so-called Atlantic Wall. We all know that the invasion of the Atlantic Wall was at D-Day, but prior to D-Day, how many times did the Allies have landings and commando raids, including those that were aborted, against the Atlantic Wall? And it's a number. Whoever comes closest will score.
Music.
Okay, everybody?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, Gary, what do you think, Gary?
No, that's interesting because I just heard about the Canadian Army doing that, 1942. But I'll just take a number and out of the hat and say 28.
28. Jim?
I'm going low, 12.
Tony?
I'm going lower than that, 6.
Mac?
I'm going to go lower than that, 3.
Gary is the winner.
Oh, man.
Surprisingly, and this floored me. This has absolutely floored me when I found the answer. 58.
Really?
Cow.
Wow.
Yeah, who would have guessed that 58 times we landed in France or the Low Countries or in Norway, conducted raids. Sometimes they stayed for a while before they cleared out. But 58.
Wow. I know Navek is one of them, and I know at one point the British actually tried to ram a destroyer into the sub pens in France.
Yeah.
And then there was one where they took over a radar site, I think, at one point. But I had no idea it was that high of a number.
Me neither. I never would have guessed that.
That's amazing.
Okay, now the last one is also a numerical question, and it's intended to show you just how impressive was our production capacity during World War II. How many military aircraft were produced in the United States during World War II? And that means, from the time of Pearl Harbor until the German surrender on May 8th, 1945. How many military aircraft were produced in the U.S. during that period of time?
It's a tough one.
I'll give you one hint, and the hint is this. When the war started and Franklin Roosevelt announced what the goals of the United States were in producing tanks and ships and aircraft, he set the goal for 42, 43, 44, however long it took, of 50,000 planes a year. Now, that was the goal, and the war went on for 3.5 years. After the U.S. started. So the question is, how many planes were produced during that 3.5 year period? Okay, everybody have a number?
Yep.
Okay, Jim, let's start with you.
195,000.
195 is the first answer. We go to Tony.
60,000.
60,000. We go to Mac.
110,000.
110. And finally, Gary.
I'm going big. I'm going 500,000.
All right. Now, this is interesting. Wait, I got to figure this out. So, Gary, you say 500,000. Okay. And Jim, you said
195.
195. Okay. The answer is rather astounding. It's not 500,000, but it is 350,000. Now think about this.
Man.
Roosevelt's goal was basically 175,000. They doubled the goal.
Amazing.
So, Jim, you will score on that one because you're the closest. You are off by 155. Oh, take that back. Take that back. You know what? We're going to call this a tie because you're both so close. You're both about 150 over. So we're going to give Gary a point and we're going to give Jim a point. And now, since that was question 10, Raven, do you want to officially add up the scores?
Absolutely. Okay, so I have Mac and Tony both tied at 5, and I have Gary at 4 and Jim at 2.
All right. So now that we have 5 each, I do have a tiebreaker. Not that we need a tiebreaker because Tony and Mac are going to go into the second round, but just to see who might be a little sharper.
Okay.
The tiebreaker is while the U.S. produced 350,000 planes, how many did the Germans produce?
Can we just yell out answers? I mean, that's also a really tough question because they were
That's tough, yeah.
They were at it longer.
Yeah, you could both throw out it. Yeah. Because it's not gonna matter. You're both in the final. So, Tony, what do you think?
I'd say 200,000.
200,000. And what do you say, Mac?
I was going to say about the same thing, about 200,000.
Okay. Well, the answer is lower. It's 120,000. But
really, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
But the problem for the Germans was not aircraft production. The problem was
pilots
and fuel.
Yes, right.
Once we started to bomb their synthetic fuel plants and we took out Poesti, they really couldn't afford to spend much time training pilots because they didn't have the gas for it. And they had to be very careful whenever they set a plane up.
Wow, that's cool. So listen, that's the first edition of, the first part of the World War II Trivia Contest tonight. It looks like Tony and I are going on to the finals. Tony, get ready, Tony. Get ready.
All right.
Okay. So
now for Jim and for Gary, we need a lot of cheerleading.
Cheerleading. Let's go. Let's give Melanie his hand.
You guys did a great job.
There you go.
Excellent.
Everybody did great.
All right, there you go. So
You guys got more answers than I would have. So.
Those were hard.
Why don't we take a commercial break now? Take a quick break. You're listening to Mack Maloney's Military Exile Show here on
Be right back, Kevin.
Here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network, and we'll be right back after this.
UFOs are found in Renaissance art, on ancient coins, and etched on cave walls. They are even reported in the Bible. But more surprising is when UFOs are seen the most, in times of war. Through centuries, thousands of UFO sightings have been made by high-ranking officials, military pilots, and ordinary soldiers. Often, these fantastic appearances occur at the height of great battles. From World War I to D-Day to Korea, Vietnam, and beyond, military investigators are baffled. Why do UFO sightings spike so drastically during wartime? Could it be mistaken aircraft, or is someone or something looking in on us? In UFOs in Wartime, What They Didn't Want You to Know, Mack Maloney chronicles centuries of these incredible sightings and tries to solve the puzzle of why so many UFOs are seen while humanity is at war. Read about the scare ships, the ghost planes, and the ghost rockets, alien giants in the jungles of Vietnam, UFOs controlling our ICBM bases, dogfights with flying saucers during the Gulf War, and more. 300 pages of unbelievable stories, along with many startling photographs. That's UFOs in Wartime, What They Didn't Want You to Know, by Mack Maloney. On sale at your local bookstore or on Amazon.com.
British Secret Service.
Hello, Moneypenny.
Hello, 007. How's your mission to steal the secret sex formula from Dr. No-No going?
It'll be going fine, except for the two idiots headquarters sent with me.
Hey, Mac, did Defalo Crumpus just call us idiots?
Yes, he did, 1-1. He's an ungrateful putz.
Nice car, though.
Yeah, and you know what? Now it's my turn.
But if you drive, what am I going to do?
I'll drive, you shoot the machine guns. Okay?
No way, I'm driving. I just have a license for you and I'm driving.
Oh, see what I mean, Moneypenny?
But James, we have to get the stolen formula from Dr. No-No before the big 2-for-1 sale.
I'm on it, Moneypenny, but I've got to rid myself of these two mushmouths first. I still have the red button, don't I?
James, not the red button.
Cobra, save us!
Hello, gentlemen. And you, Mr. Bond.
Oh my God. Is that Commander Cobra?
Jumping from a helicopter through the sunroof of my Aston Martin? Well played, Cobra. But what are you doing here?
Besides rescuing my two friends, James, I'm here to tell you that you don't have to steal the cardio sex formula from Dr. No-No. All you have to do is go online and order it yourself. Then you'll have plenty of the new energy drink that can give you the extra endurance you need to get through.
Please, Cobra, tell us why it's called sex.
It's called SEX, for Strength Energy Accelerator, and it's easy to use. Just mix a scoop of water, shaken, not stirred. 30 minutes before you start your workout, and you'll find you can last longer and feel all around better about finishing your regime.
Oh, my.
And the mix comes in many different flavors. My favorite is passion fruit.
Mine too.
Why, you little trollop.
Hey, Mac, look at all these buttons. I wonder what they do.
I don't know. Push one and find out.
Not the big red one. No!
Jeez, I hope he's wearing his rocket belt.
Guess not.
That's SEX, Workout Dietary Supplement, available only through Cardillo USA. Visit cardillousa.com for more details about our big 2-for-1 sale. That's CARDILLO USA.com and get some sex today.
Welcome back, everyone, to Mack Maloney's Military X-Files show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network. This is Macaroni. What a show we have for you tonight. This is version 2 of our World War II trivia contest. We're halfway through it. Just want to remind everyone that the lucky winner is actually playing for one of our listeners. So go to MackMaloney.com, hit the contact button, send us an email. We'll put your name into the magic fishbowl. And we'll pick it out, and you will be the lucky winner. Phil, please, Phil Orbanes, tell us, what is the winner going to win this time?
The winner this time is going to win the authentic reproduction of the beautiful 1959 original Risk game, including all those lovely polished wooden armies.
Nice. Okay, I should just introduce the people who are playing tonight. Tony Cisneros, our good friend from Alp Ventures Tours. Tony, you look red.
Hey, Mac.
You and I are going to the final. You and I are going to the final. So I'm sorry, no mercy there, brother. Okay.
I'm ready for you, brother.
Jim Frenkel is with us. Jim, very famous agent down in Nashville. You're now a cheerleader, Jim. Okay, good.
I am cheering.
Okay.
Yay!
All right.
Very famous author Gary Olsen is also in the shadows there, Gary.
Yeah, I get the big L on my forehead for loser because I didn't make the finals.
That's okay.
But you were close. You were close. Very close, Gary.
You were close.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And also Mackie is playing. Juan is here. Wani's here. Ray, wow, holy cow.
Mac.
Raven is here. I can hardly say her name.
Hello.
And also Switchy's here. So before we get back into the game, let's go to the thank you for waving those pom-poms, Switchy. Switch on the most
real cheerleaders behind me.
Yeah, I see that. And that looks like it should be blotted out there. Is that a Switch? Everyone wants to know, what did you have for breakfast this morning?
This morning I had the old standard sugar frosted flakes.
Okay.
But yesterday was a breakfast.
Go. What was it?
It was a French toast slam at Denny's Diner.
Oh,
French
man.
toast, syrup, butter, scrambled eggs,
yes,
2 sausage, 2 bacon, hot black coffee.
Oh, my
But that
goodness.
was yesterday.
Wow.
That's the Grand Slam, right?
Grand Slam French toast.
That will last you for a while. Holy cow. Good for you, Switch. You didn't disappoint. Okay, frosted flakes this morning. Whole milk. 2%. Good. Watch your heart. Good. Super. Okay. Okay, so why don't we get to the second part of our World War II trivia contest tonight. It's me and Tony Cisneros. Let's go.
Okay.
Let's do this.
All right. For the first question in round 2, we actually were talking a little bit about Massachusetts and the perfect storm and the movie prior to the break. It so happens that the first question in this round pertains to the battleship, the USS Massachusetts. Now, this was among the first battleships, new battleships that were launched during the war. The United States entered the war with a lot of battleships that were quite old. All the ones at Pearl Harbor, for example, dated from around World War I.
Mm-hmm.
But the Massachusetts was one of the new, very fast battleships, and it was launched in 1942. And it participated in several amphibious invasions in the Pacific against the Japanese during the remainder of the war. But, and here's the question, where did it see its first action? And the only hint that I'm going to give you here is that during the first round of the game, one of the players got pretty close to mentioning where this particular battleship saw its first action. It was unintended, but he did get close.
I'm ready. Tony's sweating. I can see it.
I'm sweating.
Okay.
Pacific is not my strong area.
Okay, so, Mac, what do you think?
I'm going to say it's the raid on Dieppe.
Dieppe, okay. And Tony, what do you say?
Well, before I answer that, didn't Phil, did you say that it was the Pacific, or did you not clarify?
No, all I said was that it participated in several amphibious invasions in the Pacific against the Japanese.
Okay.
But where did it see its first action?
Okay, got it. Well, I wrote down Guam, but that wouldn't make sense.
No, it wouldn't. You guys, I'll tell you what, I'm going to give you guys another chance each because it's not in the Pacific.
Okay.
And it's not Dieppe. Dieppe was a British-Canadian affair. Okay. So I'll give you each one more chance with the clues that were just given. Mac, what would you like to say?
I mean, can I just say the Battle of the Atlantic? Or is that too general?
That's what I was going to say.
Sure, you can say that.
Yeah, Battle of the Atlantic.
That's not too general?
No, that's good, and that would be a reasonable answer. Tony, what would you like to say?
Yeah, I would say the same, Battle of the Atlantic.
Well, it's a good answer, but it's wrong.
Oh.
The answer is it supported the American invasion against the Free French at Casablanca on 6 November 1942.
Damn, good question. Good question.
And this actually was my dad's inaugural experience in World War II, was landing at Casablanca. He told me when I was young, he remembers when Roosevelt and Churchill arrived because he was on guard duty that day. And this is where George Patton also landed with his. There were 3 striking forces. Patton was in charge of the landing at Casablanca. And of course, one of the things that always dumbfounds me is that the Free French actually were on the sides of the Germans. And so they were given the opportunity to surrender without bloodshed, but they didn't.
Yep.
They fought back.
Yep.
Massachusetts took some damage in that particular battle. It came back to the States, it got repaired, and then it spent the rest of the war in the Pacific.
Wow, great question.
Okay, now, this next one is pretty cool. And I would think if Gary was playing that he would have an edge on this one. Which of these celebrities did not serve in the U.S. Armed Forces during World War II? And I'm going to give you 5 names. Of the 5, only 1 did not serve.
Okay.
Clark Gable, Jimmy Stewart, John Wayne, Mel Brooks, or Johnny Carson. It's Gable, Stewart, Wayne, Brooks, or Carson. 1 did not serve.
Music.
Okay. Mac, what do you think?
John Wayne.
What do you say, Tony?
I think it's Johnny Carson, and I should know this, but I don't.
Well, Mac gets the point because the answer is John Wayne. Yes. Mr. Hero. By the way, Michener wrote a book about the Pacific War many years ago that I remember reading because he was in the war. And he said John Wayne did more of a disservice to the young captains and lieutenants in the Pacific than anybody he could think of, because in the movies, John Wayne always stood up and told his troops, come on, let's go, charge. And when the captains and lieutenants emulated John Wayne, they had their heads blown off.
Go, John. Thank you, John. Yep.
Oh, that's crazy.
Isn't that? Okay, now the next one, I'm going to give a point to the one who guesses the most of the answers here that are pertinent. The three Andrews sisters entertained troops extensively during World War II. What was their first names? Remember we were talking about the Boogie Woogie Bugle Boy before we began?
Yeah.
Well, that was the Andrews sisters who made that song famous. And there were three of them, I'll tell you that much. So what were their three first names?
Wow. Music.
I'm just going to ask, for the sake of asking, Jim and Gary, do you think you know what they are? You don't say anything, but do you think you know their names?
I know maybe one.
Okay, Gary? No, we have no Gary.
No,
okay, let's go with Mac first. What do you think the three first names are?
No idea. Trixie, Dixie, and Fixie.
and Pixie. Okay. Tony, what do you think?
That's another one I should know, Phil, and I'm also just totally guessing in the dark here. But I had Marie, Josephine, and Susan.
Okay, well, the answer is the Laverne, which is not unusual, but Laverne Andrews, Maxine Andrews, and the youngest one had the most ordinary name, Patty.
Patty Andrews.
I was way off.
Oh, well.
I thought Doreen.
No, I don't.
Okay, well,
that was a tough one.
Yeah, I've got one more that's sort of entertainment related. If you think about this, you should get this answer. Which actress recording star recorded songs in German for the OSS propaganda unit to broadcast to German troops? So this actress recording star recorded songs in German because the OSS felt that this particular recording star recorded songs that were broadcast to German troops. It would make them yearn for home and perhaps lower their morale. And she's pretty well known. What do you think her name is?
Music.
Okay, Mac, I'll again ask you what you think first.
Raven McRaven. No, I'm sorry. No. It's Marlene Dietrich.
Right.
And that's my guess.
Yeah. And what do you say, Tony?
I was going to say Marlene Dietrich.
Okay, yeah. You each get a point. That is, that's here. Now, she was, she did leave German. She did leave her native Germany prior to World War II. She knew that Hitler was bad news, and she volunteered to do anything she could to help the Allied cause.
Yep.
Cool.
Okay. Okay. Now the next one, we get to Winston Churchill and Franklin Roosevelt. What not so clever code name did Winston Churchill adopt when in communication with Franklin Roosevelt? And by communication, that meant, a coded message or a message, not necessarily they spoke on the scrambler. But what not so clever code name did Winston Churchill adopt when communicating in writing with Franklin Roosevelt?
I know this.
Tony, do you have an idea?
I don't know.
Okay, Mac?
Is it something like your British cousin?
Okay. And who said, I know this?
Jim.
I did. It's former naval person.
Absolutely.
Damn.
We got to give Jim a point on that. It's rather inane because, you know,
Yeah,
he wasn't
really.
charged of the admiral. So former naval person. I don't think the Germans would have too much trouble with that.
Former naval person.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yes. It's one of the weirdest things.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, the next one is also President Roosevelt. President Roosevelt may well have had an affair with an influential European princess during World War II. She was a royal of what country? And there was just a TV series all about this. I'll give you a hint on PBS.
I know that one.
So the
I'm watching it.
So the answer is, which country was she a royal of?
I'll answer if nobody knows.
Okay. Tony, any idea?
I'm going to guess Belgium.
It's a good guess. Mac?
I'm going to guess Holland.
I have an
Very
idea.
close, but we're going to let Juan provide the answer.
Norway.
Right. Her name was Princess Martha, and after the Germans...
Marta.
Marta. Well, yeah, I'm sorry. I have it marked.
Come on, get it right.
Yeah, I read it wrong.
I listen with headphones. I get all the nuances.
Okay, PBS
All
boy.
right. Princess Marta. We would call it Martha.
The show is called Atlantic Crossing.
Right.
So when Norway was overrun by the Germans, and by the way, all the Germans had to do was capture the key ports in the capital, Oslo, the royal family fled to England, and it was decided that Princess Marta would go to the U.S. and represent the Norwegians in exiles, and she became close to President Roosevelt, and
I'll
won't
say.
spoil it in case you want to watch the series.
It's excellent.
Yeah, it really, really was.
Yeah.
How close was she?
Really close.
Well,
Really close.
I looked it up, and Roosevelt's son said he believes the affair was consummated. So.
Ooh,
Yeah.
all right.
Now, here's the tragedy. Her husband,
in
of
his
course,
car.
Yeah, and we're not going to say any more because you guys may want to watch it.
In his
Okay.
It's really good.
Yeah. Next question. On the 18th of April, 1943, Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto was shot down and killed while on a morale-boosting flight to the Solomon Islands. Now, Yamamoto was the top admiral in Japan. He was the admiral who organized the attack on Pearl Harbor because he knew from having gone to school, I think was it Harvard that
Yes,
he went to school?
Harvard. Yep.
He knew that once the U.S. woke up, Japan was doomed. So the only way they could win a war against the U.S. was a surprise attack to wipe out the fleet, a lot of early victories, and then the Americans might actually come to the negotiating table. But Yamamoto was clearly the most visible and most prestigious person in the eyes of the Japanese Navy. And thanks to the code breakers who broke the Japanese naval code, they knew he was going to go on this mission, even though his advisors said, it's pretty dangerous. You're going to be flying over, a lot of territory where we really can't provide support. He was shot down and killed. His plane crashed in a jungle. So the question is, now that you know this, what type of American aircraft had to be used to reach and shoot down Yamamoto? And I'll just give you one hint. It had to be a fighter plane, had to be a long-distance fighter, and it was very well known. And all I'm looking for is either the numerical designation or its nickname. What type of plane was used to shoot down Yamamoto?
Music.
And this plane appeared in Europe, in the European theater, as well as the Pacific theater, but it really was outstanding in the Pacific theater.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's go to Mac.
P-38 Lightning.
What do you think?
P-38 Lightning.
Okay, what do you say, Tony?
P-51.
Okay, the answer is the Lightning. And the Lightning was a twin-engine plane. If you carried extra fuel tanks, it could fly a long distance. Yamamoto was escorted by 6 Zeros and he was in a bomber, a 2-engine bomber, and there was a second bomber just in case they had to confuse the enemy as to which one he was in. It was attacked by 16 P-38s, and the first guy in immediately shot down Yamamoto and then shot down the other bomber. So that was that. Now, this question, I have to do this because the answer is so good for this one. There's a bonus part of this one. And the bonus, I'm going to let you both go for an extra point here. During the Pearl Harbor surprise attacks, the Japanese destroyed 189 American planes on the ground and damaged far more. 189 mainly on the ground and damaged far more. 350 Japanese planes took place in the 2 waves of that surprise attack. And the answer is very simple. How many Japanese planes were shot down? Remember, they destroyed in the air or on the ground 189 American planes plus a lot more damage. The question is, how many Japanese planes did we manage to shoot down during the Pearl Harbor attack?
Boy, that's a question.
Yeah.
Well, we only got 2 questions to go after this.
Okay.
One, so, all right. Tony, do you have an answer?
6.
6. What do you say, Mac?
22.
Well, Mac is closer. The answer is 29.
Wow.
The answer, it breaks down as this. In the first wave, we only got 9. In the second wave, 20. And believe it or not, although a third wave would have been devastating if it took place and it wiped out the harbor facilities like the oil storage tanks and the dry docks and whatnot, the commander of the Japanese fleet decided against it because while 29 had been shot down, about 60 had been damaged, and he was reluctant to put them back in the air. So the Japanese skedaddled without the third wave, which would have been
big mistake.
Set us back probably 6 months.
Right.
Yeah, big mistake.
Right.
Okay.
Let's just
now,
Phil. Let me just
Phil.
Let me just remind everyone listening to Mack Maloney's Military X-Files show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network. We're in the middle of our second edition of the World War II Trivia Contest. We're in the final round, where we are playing for lucky listeners. So please go to MackMaloney.com, hit the contact button, get your name in the magic fishbowl, and we'll be picking it out in a future show to win a very cool vintage edition of the Game of Risk.
Excellent.
Okay, Phil.
Okay. This next question, I'm going to give you 3 possible answers because it's remote, but it's interesting. What Vichy French city in Africa was attacked by the Allies in September of 1940? Now, I'll point out September of 1940 is 1 year after the Germans began World War II, and there was a great deal of desire between Charles de Gaulle, who was leading the Free French out of London, and for that matter, Churchill, to do something well prior to the invasion of North Africa, which couldn't take place until, as we know, November of 42. So they decided they just had to do something to smarten up the Vichy French. And of course, the French had a lot of African colonies. So the question is, which Vichy French city in Africa was attacked by the Allies in September of 1940? Now, this is not the U.S. We're not in the war yet. The answers are Brazzaville, Aberdeen, or Dakar? Brazzaville, Aberdeen, or Dakar? This was pretty much a Charles de Gaulle incentive. So, Tony, which of the 3 do you think?
Wow.
I'm going to say Dakar.
Okay, and Mac, what do you say?
Dakar.
The answer is Dakar. You each score. And by the way, the Allies lost.
Okay.
De Gaulle did not succeed, and after that, Churchill was able to calm him down for a long time.
Good.
Now we switch to the home front and to the Soviets' rather extensive effort to recruit Americans as spies. The question is, How many Americans were conclusively exposed as Soviet spies via the Venona Project? Now, the Venona Project was the long-term decoding of the very difficult to break Russian diplomatic code. But by the time it was broken and we could go back to messages from World War II, we were able to identify this number of Americans under the name of their code name, which we were able to pinpoint, who spied for the Soviet Union. How many Americans were conclusively exposed as Soviet spies?
Music.
And there were more than this, but this is conclusively exposed.
Right, yeah.
Okay, Mac, what do you say?
I'm just going to say 60.
It's a good number. What do you say, Tony?
24, 25.
Okay, well, those are reasonable guess, and certainly if I didn't know, I would have said something in that vicinity, but the number is 246.
Wow.
I knew it was more.
And that's conclusive. I mean, as Jim points out, there was a lot more that we just couldn't pinpoint precisely.
Right.
We have good ideas who they were, but not conclusively.
Wow.
Okay.
24.
Yeah, that's a big number. Okay, last question.
So who won that? Who won that? Who won that one?
Oh, by the way, who was closest to that one? You said what, 20-something, Mac?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Or you say 60?
No, I said 60.
So you get that one.
Okay. Sorry.
Oh, you said 6. Did you say 6? No, what did you say? Raven, what did he say?
I heard 60.
60.
0.
I heard 60, yeah. Okay. All right.
Okay, so Matt gets something. Okay.
Okay, last question is, how did the British people reward their hero, Winston Churchill, on July 26, 1945? How did the British people reward their hero, Winston Churchill, on July 26, 1945?
Music.
Okay, Tony, would you like to go first?
By voting him out of office.
And what do you say, Mac?
Yep, they voted him out of office.
Yes, absolutely right.
Yes.
Thank you for nothing.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really trick question.
Yep.
Yeah, I do have a bonus question here.
Great series about that.
Yep.
But Raven, do you want to verify the scores?
Please.
Mac left me in the dust.
Yeah,
I have Mac at 6 and I have Tony at 2.
Oh, it's okay, Tony.
I got Tony at 3.
No, that's okay.
Okay.
I don't know how
That point is worth it.
Yeah, okay.
So
And now I'm going to throw this out to anybody who just wants. Here's the tiebreaker, which we didn't have to use.
Okay.
In 1943, what was Operation Mincemeat? And I will point out that in the first quiz, somebody made reference to what this was all about. So just what was Operation Mincemeat in 1943? And I will say this, it took place after we had secured North Africa. Just anybody's got an answer, just throw it out.
Sicily?
Sicily.
Yep. Anybody else?
Deception, particularly the deception plan regarding the Husky landings to throw the Germans off of Sicily.
Precisely right.
Wow, Tony.
They used the corpse of a nobody named Glindor Michael, I think, and they disguised him as Captain William Martin with papers, and he washed ashore. Was it in Spain?
Portugal.
Yeah.
Portugal.
Yeah. Or Portugal.
Off the coast of off Cadiz.
Yeah, and they knew that they knew that the information that he carried would quickly get to the Nazis, and they successfully disguised the actual location of the next invasion, which in fact turned out to be Sicily.
Yeah, right.
Another place that my dad had the displeasure of having to land on.
Wow. Well, here we go. That was.
There we go.
That was interesting. Thank you very much, Phil Orbanes, for running a second version of World War II Trivia Contest. I couldn't help it, kids, but I won. So please.
Good job, Mac.
Please go to MackMaloney.com, hit the contact button, get your name into the Magic Fishbowl, and we will be picking the name of the winner in a future show. Why don't we do this? Why don't we take a quick break now? We'll all be back after this. You're listening to Mack Maloney's Military X-Files show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Amazon. Here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network, this is Mack Maloney. Wow, what a show we have for you tonight. We're talking about World War II. We just had World War II trivia contest. Now we're just going to talk about our favorite World War II stories, I guess, if you want to say that. Juan's here. Raven is here. A good friend, Jim Frenkel, is here. Switchblade Steve is here. Gary Olsen is here. Phil Orbanes is here. Did I get everyone?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Tony, let's just go to you real quick. Tony, you run Alp Ventures. Can you give us the elevator pitch on what you do and how you do it?
Oh, yeah. So Alp Ventures, that's my tour company, and I built my company doing World War II history tours over in Europe. So for about the last 25 years, I've been bringing groups all across the battlefields, memorials, museums, and lots of cemeteries, military cemeteries. But as you know, there's tons to see over there. So it keeps me busy.
Mm-hmm. How long is a tour? Beginning to end?
The tours run anywhere from about 10 days to 2 weeks. Tends to be kind of the sweet spot. Anything less than that is, not worth a flight over there, and anything more than that is usually hard to get, that time off. So.
And what's the number one place do you go? Do you go to Normandy every time?
Yeah, so I've got like 6 different tours that I run all over Europe. I've got a tour that starts in Sicily and goes up to Rome. I've got, of course, Normandy to the Eagle's Nest. That's kind of the real hot route right now. Every company is offering a similar type tour, Band of Brothers sites. But yeah, Normandy is probably, in my opinion, the number one World War II mecca, for enthusiasts in Europe, because there's just so much to see there. It's a great starting point, for travels throughout Europe. Start in France, start in Normandy, kind of work your way across. So. And
how can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, well, I've got several websites for the tours, but just worldwar2tours.com with the number 2. That's my main site for our history tours. World War with the number 2 tours.com.
Worldwar2.com. Okay. Worldwar2tours.com.
Worldwar2tours.com.
Correct. Yeah.
All one word.
All one word.
All written together.
Of course.
Okay, Phil, and you were nice enough to be the master of ceremonies for our trivia game earlier. Tell us a little bit about Winning Moves, your game company.
Well, Winning Moves is now 26 years old. We started the company, I and 3 other game industry veterans, with the idea in mind that not only would we try to find great new games to market, but that we would bring back the classics, the most popular games in America, like, whether it's Monopoly, Clue, Risk, Sorry, Boggle, Yahtzee, Game of Life, or whatnot, and reproduce them the way they were originally, which typically was higher quality and certainly the versions that most people remember playing growing up. And fortunately, we have a good relationship with Hasbro that owns both Milton Bradley and Parker Brothers, the 2 great American game companies in the last 100 and some years. And they have all these big titles. They were gracious in licensing them to us to do these special versions. And we also make the Rubik's Cube. But Winning Moves is primarily known as the company that brings back the classic board games that you remember from your younger years.
Can I ask you what the best-selling game is right now for you?
Sure. It's not any of the games that I just mentioned. It's actually a young girl's game called Pretty Pretty Princess.
Oh, Juan has that.
I'm not sure if Raven remembers it.
Really?
And by the way, our second
Send me a link to that one.
Yeah, our second best selling game at the moment is Twister.
Whoa, another favorite.
Yeah.
See,
Twister is a
Twister.
fantastic game.
I love that game.
Yeah.
So
Really
good.
fun.
Bill and Ted would be
I've
happy.
never heard of Pretty Pretty Princess.
Well, it's a
that what it's
game.
called?
It's a game for little girls where they collect plastic jewelry, which they can wear during the course of the game, and of course, the whole object is to actually get the tiara to put on your head.
Wow.
So for little girls, this was so huge, I guess, back in the 80s and 90s, and we brought it back, and we're just so surprised how popular it is.
Let's do that on the show some night. Why don't we have a?
Yeah, right.
No,
Okay.
no thanks.
No, okay.
Let's do creepy crawlers.
Okay.
You guys
Yeah.
remember creepy crawlers? Oh,
Well,
they
we're-
were so cool. Let's do those.
Yeah, we're about to do Barrel of Monkeys, if you remember that one.
Oh, wow.
Barrel of
I went
Barrel
to
of
school
Monkeys
there.
used to piss me off
Really?
because I would get like 2, and then it
Yeah.
would just fall apart.
Yeah, well, we just got permission to bring back the original, so we're going to do that.
That's very cool.
That's awesome.
And is it winningmoves.com? Winningmoves.com, Phil?
It's winning-moves.com.
Winning-moves.com. Very
Yes.
cool.
Some prankster registered Winning Moves without the dash before we could get it.
Oh, too bad.
Damn.
So anyway, so we're just talking about World War II tonight, and I've read about World War II all my life. My father was a veteran of World War II. He had his ship sank out from underneath him in the Pacific.
Where? In the Pacific?
Yep, it was
Wow.
in New Caledonia, and I might as well tell the story. He was on an internal combustion repair ship, and they were anchored at in New Caledonia. They were in the rear of the war. They weren't at the front, and there was an ammunition ship there, and a Japanese airplane came along and bombed the ammunition ship and sank the 4 ships around it. And my father's ship was one of them. He didn't talk much about it.
Wow.
But he was over there for 4 years, and came back, I'm sure, a different person. The thing that Tony and I and we're just going to go around the table here, but Tony and I were talking off air. One thing I read today that I was kind of fascinated by was how many Allied, I'll throw it out, question Tony and I know, but how many Allied airmen were kept in German POW camps during the war? How many Allied airmen were in German POW camps during the war?
Obviously, thousands.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, lots of thousands, I'll bet.
I think 150.
At least 2.
I think 150,000, maybe closer.
Really,
to
that many? Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mainly British.
It was 100,000.
Oh, really? Mainly British? I didn't know that.
I think
Was that 100,000?
100,000, yeah.
I think
Wow.
we had 50,000 alone.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
What they used to do is with German prisoners, they would bring them to the United States, and they'd bring them out. A lot of them were out to the Midwest and the West, and they didn't really lock them up. They had them doing civic projects, and they would march them out of the camp and build roads and stuff like that. And the reason they did that is they were denazifying them. They wanted to see how Americans really did live, And it was a very interesting way to kind of, turn the brainwashing. But other than that, the only other thing, I go on all night, but when people say, what was the number one manufactured bomber in World War II, and you always hear about the B-17 and everything, but actually more B-24 Liberators
That's right.
were manufactured than B-17s.
Which was ungainly, but it actually had better performance.
Mm-hmm. Right. It just didn't get the headlines. Hey, listen, let me throw it at Jim. Jim, what's your favorite World War II story? If I can use the favorite, what's your most interesting World War II story?
Okay, well, it's fiction. We were talking about astrology and Hitler before. There's a novel, my favorite World War II novel about astrology. It's called The Zodiac Deception. It's by Gary Criss, and it's about a guy who Wild Bill Donovan sends over there to impersonate an astrologer and get in tight with the higher ups, so that he could get close enough to assassinate Hitler. It's a really cool novel.
That's very cool.
Himmler's in it. I mean, all
that
sorts
sounds
of people are in it. It's great. It's got stuff that goes on in Egypt with the deceptions that of the Allies in Egypt. It's in Paris in the sewers of Paris. It's in the mountains of Germany. It's an amazing book. The Zodiac Deception.
That sounds Terrific.
Very cool.
It really is.
Yeah, thank you.
It's a great book. It came out about 5 years ago.
Tony, go ahead.
Okay.
Tony, what's your favorite?
Just like I need to go and get something for my segment. I'll be right back.
Go. Tony, what's your favorite? I mean, what's the most interesting fact about World War II for you?
You know, there's so many, and like Phil pointed out, there's so much that that I'm still learning. You know, as I go through this. I mean, I've been bringing these groups over there for 25 years, and every single tour, I'm learning something. You know, from the people and from their their experience from their dad and their grandpa and so forth. But as far as what I find the most interesting, Mac, is the fact that this whole occult connection with Hitler. I mean, you mentioned the astrology and so forth. There's still a lot of people that don't quite understand that Hitler was deeply involved in the occult, and it wasn't just chasing weird symbols and stuff. I mean, he was indoctrinated into this stuff, and I'll throw a name out for you, Dietrich Eckhart. I don't know how many people have ever heard of Dietrich Eckhart, but the guy was basically Hitler's mentor. He was into the dark arts, and Dietrich Eckhart actually was the guy that Hitler dedicated his book Mein Kampf to. He actually dedicated his book to Eckhart. And anyway, Eckhart died like 3 months before Hitler was imprisoned for the beer hall putsch in 1923. So he never lived to see Hitler come to power. But on his deathbed, Dietrich Eckhart said, and I quote, "Don't mourn for me. I will have influenced German history greater than any other man. Hitler may dance, but I played the tune."
Wow.
He said that 3 months before Hitler
on his
seized power.
deathbed?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I mean, he said it 3 months before Hitler was sent to jail for the putsch. 10 years before Hitler became Chancellor of Germany, he said that. So it's this connection that just is kind of overlooked, and I think the History Channel and Discovery, they're starting to kind of pick at this a little bit,
right.
But it's something that I think we need to pay a little closer attention to.
Interesting.
I don't think it was just Hitler either.
Yeah, no, the whole group of them were into it.
A lot of his inner circle. Yeah, a lot of his inner circle were involved in that stuff.
I wonder if they were.
And all the stuff about the inevitability of their success, based on all sorts of mystical connections with the past and the ancient Aryan, et cetera, et cetera.
Yep.
Ah.
Hey, Phil.
Nowadays, it makes me want to vom. Gross.
Nowadays, governments use computer modeling,
Right.
And back then, Hitler used psychics,
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, look where it got him. Hey, Phil, you have what's your favorite World War II story?
Well, my story is a personal story, but I think this is pretty interesting. That's why I'm going to spend some time on it. So when I joined Parker Brothers here in Massachusetts in 1979, I found out that Parker Brothers had a relationship with the Japanese company. They were trading products back and forth. And as fate would have it, just 2 years later, I would begin representing the company to Japan. And I traveled there at least to Tokyo, at least 3 times a year. But my first taste of working with the Japanese occurred, I think it probably was the fall of 1979, when representatives from our partner in Japan came to Beverly, Massachusetts, and met with a small team of Parker people, including myself, to review the new products that Parker Brothers was going to introduce the following year. And I noticed that there was an older gentleman who worked, I was told his name was Arakawa, and he worked in the R&D department of this Japanese company. And with every product that was presented, he drew the most detailed picture of it. No photographs. He just actually drew it by hand. And I looked over his shoulder and I thought, my God, these are so accurate. So that night, we had a dinner with him. And I had been told before the dinner that he had been in the Japanese Air Force in World War II. Obviously, he was not one of the kamikazes. So when I came to that dinner, and I was very interested in World War II at that point. I brought this book with me, which is called Japanese Army Aircraft of World War II. And in particular, there was one plane in the book that I found fascinating. It was this fighter, twin engine fighter, that was never got to combat, but it was specifically designed to fly as high, as fast as the B-29 bombers that were killing Japan. And the whole purpose of this new plane, the Rikugen Ki-93, was to take down B-29s. So I mentioned to the pilot, by way of the interpreter, do you know anything about this plane? He looked at me and he said, I was the test pilot.
Whoa.
Oh, wow.
And right there at the dinner table while we were being served our steaks or whatever, he drew this picture of the plane, and he dated it October 17th, 1943, and even specifies the location. This was where it was being tested, where he flew it. And on this page right here, he wrote, I engaged as test pilot in October of 1943. And he signed his name in Japanese up at the top here.
Very nice. Wow. Who knows?
That's cool.
That's awesome. It really is.
Yeah.
Crazy.
What are the odds? I mean,
really, yes.
Really.
Right? Yeah.
And then the second part of my little World War II story, pertains to my dad. So my dad basically he was in the 12th Air Force, and he followed, Patton and Mark Clark from North Africa up through Italy and the southern France. But after North Africa, and a lot of people don't know this, the next stop as a prelude to the invasion of Sicily was to capture the small island between Sicily and Tunisia called Pantelleria.
Mm-hmm.
And Pantelleria was a volcanic island. It had a big volcano mountain on it that the Germans had carved out to make a bomb-proof hangar for their aircraft station there. And so we had to take Pantelleria to remove the threat of any type of German air attack on the invasion of Sicily when it became feasible. So my dad was among those who invaded Pantelleria. And after the arrival, his commander told everybody in his outfit, dig a foxhole because the Germans are inevitably going to be attacking us from Sicily. They don't want us here. Well, the problem was this was a volcanic island and the soil was really hard, really hard. So, my dad labored and he built a foxhole. Not everybody in his outfit had the incentive or the common sense to do it. So sure enough, a day or two after the foxholes had been dug, at night, a big German air raid takes place and the sirens are blaring and the anti-aircraft guns are going off and everybody rushes out of their tents to dive into their foxhole. And when my father gets to his, one of the lazy guys was already in it. And the foxhole was just barely big enough for one man because, the rock is really tough.
Right.
So my dad said,
no.
My dad says he can't get the guy out of there. And the only shelter that he saw was a trailer, that I think probably had ammunition on it. So he dove under the trailer. And he said during the air raid, there was a loud thud, maybe 50 or 60 feet from the trailer. And then fortunately, the air raid ends and, the Germans go home. And in the morning, my dad went to the site of the thud and he found an unexploded bomb.
Oh, man. Oh,
oh my.
That's lucky.
I have anxiety just like hearing
I
this.
know.
Oh my God.
I have anxiety just telling the story.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
One.
All I can hope is that karma showed whoever took his foxhole exactly what he deserved.
I thought he was going to be
That
dead.
is so messed up. Wow.
One. Do you have a favorite World War II story? One, you fought in Guadalcanal, correct?
Right. Yeah. Well, again,
on the good side of the canal, right?
Right.
It's a dad. My dad was on a ship. I can't remember the name of it now, which bums me out. But
in the Pacific.
In the Pacific, and he was a radio man, and so he's down below decks, and basically they were under a lot of kamikaze attacks at the time. I don't know if they were part of a specific battle. I think it's just the way it was when you're out in the Pacific is that you never know who's going to attack you, when, why, and how. Yeah. But they have some photos of basically, I guess you call them a near miss, because they weren't hit, but planes hit a radio tower, a conning tower, and that was about it. So it's like you're on deck and you're ducking because here they come, and those planes were apparently shot, and they were on fire, and they were bound and determined to take you with them, and there was just a couple of close calls.
Yeah, wow, that's
my father would talk about. I think somewhere in my vast library, I have one of their the ship's yearbook, and has a photo or two in it, and I'll have to dig it up now that we're talking about it, because I have it in my library someplace.
Uh-huh. Hey, Switchy,
fantastic.
You got a World War II?
And again, he never talks about it.
Yeah, no,
unless you
my father
try
didn't
to
either.
squeeze it out of him
Right.
at Thanksgiving dinner or something.
Yeah, my father very rarely talked about it.
It's understandable.
Switchy, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, my dad left boot camp, and we shipped out to Pearl Harbor. And I can't remember whether it was he was on the way to Pearl Harbor or got there, and the war ended. So he spent his time in the war, which wasn't really war, eating shrimp on Hawaii.
Wow.
So I come from a long line of war heroes. But my favorite incident was actually based on a movie. It was based on a real incident. I love the story of Sergeant York.
Yep.
Oh yeah. Well, it's World War One.
World War
Oh,
One.
is it World War One?
Yep.
Okay. Well, I still love it. I love it enough.
It's great. It's a great
to cover
story.
2 wars.
Switchy, we're in the same
I guess
boat.
I
Don't
haven't
worry
seen it for
it.
about 30 years, but
I just want to, let me just add this in only because my assistant is here today. I've talked about this before on the show. Lois's father, Richard Kennedy, was the youngest Marine to land on Okinawa. He was 15 years old during the invasion of Okinawa.
15?
Yeah, he lied about his age.
Oh, my.
He tried to use his older brother's birth certificate many times. The Marines would not let him in, and then finally, halfway through the war, they just needed warm bodies. He joined at 14, was sent to Guadalcanal for training, and he landed on Okinawa on Easter Sunday, 1945, and he turned, his birthday was like 6 days later, yeah. Yep. And the funny thing is that, not funny, but so they win the war. He was in occupation duty in Japan for about 6 months. And then he went back to school in Brooklyn, in high school, and he had to do his senior year. Okay, so he had to do his senior year, but they wouldn't let him play on the baseball team because he was too much of a man. That's all he wanted to do was play baseball, and they wouldn't let him. Yeah, yep. Yeah, too much of a man.
He wasn't a kid anymore.
So confused.
Gary, do you have?
Makes sense of that.
Yep. Raven, do you have a World War II story you want to tell us?
I don't want to call it like my favorite because it's awful. It's war, but I've always been fascinated by the evacuations of Dunkirk, which I'm pretty sure is World War II.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. I did a big project on it when I was in college, but there was a bit of reefer madness going on there. So
what?
It's so messed up, and it's just so sad what those people went through. Yep. But that's always been what I've been drawn to out of it. And there was a really good movie that I watched that I don't want to say it like did a good job because again, it's such a horrible situation. Mm-hmm. But it's called Atonement, and it's like a mixture of like fiction and nonfiction. If anyone's seen it, it's a really good movie, worth watching. But they focus intensely on the evacuations of Dunkirk, and the famine, the disease, the starve, everything. It is so raw, and it really just like hits you all at once. It's a really good movie, and I'm a giant goosebump just talking about it.
Wow.
But it's really good. It's worth watching, and it's my favorite part of history, probably ever.
The Battle of Britain was another great film that captured a real event.
Yep.
Oh, did it? Okay.
The whole
Also the finest hour about
Finest Hours are a good
Churchill's.
movie. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. What's really profound to think about is that the British rear guard could not be evacuated. They had to hold the beach as long as possible.
Right.
And all but 2,000 of them were captured, which meant they served the longest in German POW camps of any British soldiers during the war, from almost the beginning until the end.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We would just, my assistant just popped her head in, and we talked about your father being the youngest guy on Okinawa. You know, just an interesting guy, interesting story. And I said, all he wanted to do, he says, I didn't mind going back to high school, but I just wanted to play on the baseball team, and they wouldn't let him because he was too much of a man.
Oh.
Just real quick about the Dunkirk.
You can't even be like, oh, gosh. Sorry, go ahead.
The Dunkirk evacuation was very interesting because at the moment that you would think that the Germans would really just put the pedal to the metal and finish the thing in Europe, they stopped. And the Allies were able to get, a lot of British, a lot of French, a lot of troops back to England, like 300,000 people. That's an entire army. And
350,000.
And the reason was, I mean, there's been theories on why, but some people say, well, he didn't want to destroy England or whatever, but it was really a fuel thing. They were running out of fuel, and that's why they did it.
And the tanks needed maintenance because they had been going flat out.
So, okay.
And the other thing is that France wasn't finished yet. They still had to turn south and take care of the French army. So, but still it seems inexplicable that they stopped.
Right.
Yeah, they could have wiped them out.
Hey,
if they
Juan,
wanted
did you?
to.
If they had taken care of those extra 350,000 troops that escaped, that would have been a different story.
Would have been really different.
Oh, absolutely.
Would have been really
absolutely.
Different. Hey, listen, why don't we take a quick break now? You're listening to Mack Maloney's Military X-Files show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network, talking all about World War II tonight. So stay with us. We'll be right back after this. And by the way, I want to remind everyone to get in touch with us. Just go to MackMaloney.com, hit the contact button, put your name into the Magic Fishbowl, and we'll be picking out the winner of the game that we just played earlier. So with that in mind, let's take a break now, and we'll be right back after this. Once again, you're listening to Mack Maloney's Military X-Files show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network.
I was in the hospital with my son for 18 months.
When he got injured, I wasn't prepared, but I knew I had to be strong.
When I was told about John's injury, I was in complete shock. I just remember rushing into his room and giving him a big hug and letting him know I was there.
These veterans and families are just a few of the heroes we serve at Homes for Our Troops. For thousands of severely injured veterans, everyday life is filled with barriers.
It was really the little things throughout the house. Counters that you can't roll up to. I had to drag my wheelchair down steps.
I want to help, but he is so determined.
At Homes for Our Troops, we build specially adapted custom homes with features like wheelchair access, roll-in showers, and automatic door openers that allow them to function independently and focus on their recovery and family.
This house is freedom. It's hope. It's a new beginning.
This house has given me my family back.
To learn more, visit hfotusa.org.
British Secret Service.
Hello, Moneypenny.
Hello, 007. How's your mission to steal the secret sex formula from Dr. No-No going?
It'll be going fine, except for the two idiots headquarters sent with me.
Hey, Mac, did Defalo Crumpus just call us idiots?
Yes, he did, one. He's an ungrateful putz.
Nice car, though.
Yeah, and you know what? Now it's my turn to drive.
But if you drive, what am I going to do?
I'll drive, you shoot them machine guns. Okay?
No way, I'm driving. I just have a license for you and I'm driving.
Oh, see what I mean, Moneypenny?
But James, we have to get the stolen formula from Dr. No-No before the big 2-for-1 sale.
I'm on it, Moneypenny, but I've got to rid myself of these two mushmouths first. I still have the red button, don't I?
James, not the red button.
Cobra, save us!
Hello, gentlemen. And you, Mr. Bond.
Oh my God. Is that Commander Cobra?
Jumping from a helicopter through the sunroof of my Aston Martin? Well played, Cobra. But what are you doing here?
Besides rescuing my two friends, James, I'm here to tell you that you don't have to steal the cardio sex formula from Dr. No-No. All you have to do is go online and order it yourself. And then you'll have plenty of the new energy drink that can give you the extra endurance you need to get through this.
Please, Cobra, tell us why it's called sex.
It's called SEX for Strength Energy Accelerator. And it's easy to use. Just mix a scoop of water, shaken, not stirred. 30 minutes before you start your workout, and you'll find you can last longer and feel all around better about finishing your regime.
Oh, my.
And the mix comes in many different flavors. My favorite is passion fruit.
Mine too.
Why, you little trollop.
Hey, Mac, look at all these buttons. I wonder what they do.
I don't know. Push one and find out.
Not the big red one. No!
Jeez, I hope he's wearing his rocket belt.
Guess not.
That's SEX Workout Dietary Supplement, available only through Cardillo USA. Visit cardillousa.com for more details about our big 2-for-1 sale. That's CARDILLO USA.com and get some sex today.
Yeah, Phil Orbanes is here. Our good friend Gary Olsen is here. Jim Frenkel is here. Switchy is here, and now Wani is back. So we get about 10 more minutes. Gary, please tell us a story about your father-in-law.
Yeah, my father-in-law, who I never met because he passed away before I met my wife, but he was a Air Corps, Army Air Corps reconnaissance pilot during World War II in Southeast Asia. I always like to say that he's the one that discovered the bridge over River Kwai that they ended up bombing. But he passed away, and he's buried in Arlington Cemetery. So I ended up walking around his area where he's buried, and 100 feet away were two graves by the last name McCain. And one was John McCain's great uncle, who was a general in the Army. And the other one was his grandfather, who was a admiral during World War II. And I looked him up, and I believe, and you probably can embellish on this, but he was the admiral during the Battle of the Philippines late in the war.
John McCain did come from a naval family, for sure. John McCain was, I never voted for him, but
yeah, I think he did.
He was like the last decent guy, you know? I mean, he was a POW. I did not agree with him politically, but he was a real American hero right to the end, that guy. So anyway, where do we go from here? Juan, did you tell your World War II story? You did, about your father-in-law, right? About your father.
I did.
Yep.
About my dad.
Yep.
But I want to just interject one more time because I got a film background, and the one incident that really was a head scratcher was a British actor named Leslie Howard.
Right. Yep.
He ended up getting shot down. He was doing some film work. Apparently, he was doing film lectures in Portugal. That was his cover, and then he gets on a plane with 17 other people, and the Germans shoot him down, and there's been several books about the incident afterwards. Of course, Leslie Howard played Ashley in Gone with the Wind. Do you know anything about this incident, Phil?
I do not.
I know a little. They were they allowed that plane to be shot down because they didn't want the Germans to know that they had broken the Ultra Code. And there were things that they knew that they just couldn't let on. And Leslie Howard was on that airplane. And also on the airplane was the actor Raymond Burr, who played Perry Mason. His first wife. Now, this could be a cover story, but his first wife was also on that plane. They would they had to make like tough choices during World War II, and that was one of them. They knew that the Germans knew that plane was taking off from Portugal, from Lisbon, and they knew that if they protected it or whatever, that then the Germans would figure out they must be listening in on us. So They couldn't do it. But one more thing about Lisbon, Portugal, and I'm glad my agent is on the line with us. How many spies do you think were in Lisbon, Portugal during World War II? Within 100.
A lot.
Yeah, many.
From all countries, right?
2,500 spies.
Yep. And Switzerland would have had probably as many if it wasn't landlocked by the Axis parties.
Mm-hmm. Right.
By the way, I have a Mel Brooks tidbit. Remember, we were talking earlier about Mel Brooks and how much we love his movies.
Yes.
And I had mentioned that he actually fought in World War II. Well, he was at the Battle of the Bulge.
Really? Yeah. Huh.
Oh my gosh! Seriously? Wow.
He was in a combat engineering battalion, and one of his tasks during the war was to defuse landmines.
Oh God!
Can you believe that? And he survived that, and he survived the Battle of the Bulge.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's wild.
How do
We
you
almost didn't
train
have
somebody
Willy Wonka.
to do that?
Pardon me?
How do you train somebody to defuse landmines? Where's the landmine diffusing?
I think you have to be partially crazy to
really
to not lose your nerve to do something like that.
Wow.
That reminds me of another PBS show. Remember Danger UXB?
Yeah.
Awesome show.
Yogi Berra was on a ship off of D-Day. He was in D-Day. Eddie Albert won a medal for saving people in Saipan, I think, or one of those Tarawa, one of those awful invasions.
Johnny Carson was in the Navy.
Johnny Carson was in the Navy. Yep.
He was on board ship. Yeah.
Clark Gable flew B-17 missions. Jimmy Stewart
rose
Clark
to the rank.
Gable and Jimmy Stewart.
Yep.
Jimmy Stewart was the first celebrity to join the armed forces. He was sent to England. At first, the Air Force used him to broadcast, morale-building messages to the troops. And finally, Stewart said, "I've got enough of this. I want combat." And he became a combat pilot on I forget it was a B-24 or a B-17, but he rose to the rank of colonel all on his own.
That's
amazing.
Awesome.
What was that?
I love that so much.
Yeah. If the war had gone on another year, he would have been a general.
Yeah, well,
if he had survived.
Good for him.
Maybe it's crazy that John Wayne was never there.
Nope, never there.
Never there.
Never there. So listen.
Well, director John Ford, he went to Midway. To film the on the island to film the
during the attack.
During the attack, and then he goes to on D-Day, Normandy, and not the initial wave, but a few waves later, and just films the carnage going on those beaches. Of course, they never released the film because it was just
so bad.
It took a long time before the appearance of an intact dead body appeared in a magazine or a newspaper in America. The censorship was so great. And by the way, when Ford was wounded on Midway, there was a cameraman who was coming to his aid, and he basically said, "Keep filming. Forget about me. Keep filming."
Wow.
Right.
Well, we have to bring the show to a close. Very interesting show tonight, World War II Trivia Contest. We've been talking about World War II. Let me just thank everybody. Let's just start with Jim Frenkel. Thank you very much, Jim, book agent.
My pleasure.
Grateful Dead.
Thanks a lot.
Fan.
Marine manuscript.
Great to have you, Jim, at our illustrious gathering.
And we will we'll talk to you very soon. Gary Olsen, thank you for joining us. Big Geo. Thank you.
Well, thank you for having me. I learned a lot tonight.
I think we all did. It was good.
Best wishes, Gary.
It was good.
Sure.
Yeah,
Thank
it was
you.
good. Tony Cisneros of Alp Ventures, World War II touring company. Thanks for joining us. Thank you,
Great
Tony.
being back on the show, Mac.
I'm waiting for the time travel.
Yes. Be the extra special package.
I owe you, Mac. You smoked me on that trivia, so I'll have to be back and redeem myself.
I don't know if we want to use that verb, but okay.
On.
Okay, thank you, Tony. Phil, thank you very much for joining us. We really appreciate it. We'll talk to you
As
soon.
always, it's great, and it's an honor to be among such a great group of people, men and women.
Wow.
Well, thank you very much. That's
Thank you so
awesome.
much, Phil.
Come and do
You
it.
did a great job.
Phil, great job, Phil.
Hey, Phil,
Great show.
Phil, come and do it live with us sometime.
Yeah,
You
well,
might-
it's not that far away from me.
We'll need a wheelman that night. Listen, thank you very much. Raven, of course, thank you for joining us, keeping score.
Thank you
Switchy,
for having me.
Raven.
Switchy, thank you for cheerleading.
Great. That's all I can do is wave the pom pom because my voice is.
That's all we needed. You and I got the same thing for some reason. Wani, thank you as always.
You're welcome.
Have I thanked everybody? And Lois is here in the background. Thank you, Lois, for joining us.
Great to see Lois.
She's
Hi,
waving,
Lois.
thanks. So listen, so everyone go to MackMaloney.com, hit the contact button, and then put your name in, and we'll be drawing someone's name from the Magic Fishbowl to win the cool game tonight, vintage edition of Risk. Kevin Kimball of somewhere up there in Seattle area won the first contest.
Sandwich, Washington. Yay!
Let's give it. And I think that's it. Have I said thank you to everyone, Lois?
Yep.
I think that's it. Well, I just want to give the plugs real quick. Homes for Our Troops. Homes for Our Troops is a military charity that builds homes for Iraqi war veterans, Afghani war veterans, people who came home without some of their limbs, and they design these houses so they can get around easily in them, and then they just give them the keys. No mortgage, no nothing. They deserve it. Homes for Our Troops. And also People's Mosquito Project. Our friend Ross Sharp is putting together a mosquito warplane from World War II with his mad Englishmen friends. Just go on People's Mosquito Project. I need a lozenge.
Made out of wood. Two
Made out of wood.
Rolls-Royce engines.
Made out of
no
wood.
No smoking.
Yeah, no smoking. Made out of wood, 2 Rolls-Royce engines, and it turned out to be the fastest thing in World War II for about 2 years. So fast they didn't put guns on them. Why, Juan?
Because they could outrun a bullet.
Outrun the bullets. Okay. So let's bring this to a close.
Basically.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for listening. We're a podcast. You know where we are. And we will see you next week. And until then, this is Mac for the entire gang saying be safe, be happy, and...
Bye-bye.